Now we have the highlight of the evening, a performance by Jenny Butt, a stand-up comic who is going to do some take-off. I'm not going to reveal anything. Okay, Jenny, here, over to Jenny.
I'm really excited to perform here this evening because I get to make fun of art people. And I'm going to present a very irreverent view of the art world. I hope that at least some of you will take it in the right spirit and be offended. So, making art in India is like saying I love you in Sanskrit. Most people don't get it. A lot of them pretend to. And I'm going to say something that everyone's thinking but nobody's saying. Everything about the art world is crazy. Nobody and nothing makes any sense. Just think about it. People are paying millions of dollars for a larger-than-life polka-dotted pumpkin made by a woman who lives voluntarily in an asylum. Or they're paying millions for a dog made out of steel, which is actually supposed to be a balloon. It's nuts. And on the other hand, these same people are worrying about the millions spent on nuclear weapons. But hold on a second, you can actually threaten hostile countries with nuclear weapons. What can you do with a polka-dotted pumpkin? Oh, of course, you can spend another million, install it in a museum, preserve it under controlled lighting and temperatures, and then sell tickets to people to come and have a look at it. Has anyone thought for a moment what a bizarre idea a museum actually is? So the art world, as we all know, is an entire planet by itself. It is small and far away from Earth. Planet art is the size of a pea. Its collective ego is the size of Jupiter. It has extreme climatic conditions. It can be very, very hot or extremely cold. This makes it difficult for most life forms to survive on it. That makes the population of the planet very small. It also makes it incestuous. See, planet art has some unusual cultural practices. Its inhabitants get together in groups and do some really weird stuff, like having panel discussions. They have panel discussions at the drop of a hat, and then they have discussions about the panel discussions, private discussions about panel discussions, and public discussions about panel discussions, and private dissections of opinions on panel discussions. Now, in some of these panel discussions, people often pretend to agree with one another when in reality they don't. It must be said that art people are supremely polite to each other. Even the cat fights on panel discussions are polite. And private dissections of cat fights on panel discussions are also polite. It's okay to laugh loudly, people. I know artists are not used to it, but... Another unusual cultural practice on planet art is snobbery. Snobbery is the most refined form of racism. Art people are racist, but will never own up to it because we like to appear politically correct. See, first there's the artist snob, who goes, I'm exhibiting a giant penis sculpture in a tiny museum in a godforsaken desert in South America. Then there's the gallerist snob, who goes, I'm exhibiting a seminal sculpture by a major international artist in a museum in America. You know, actually, I can't tell if it's good art or bad, but it's in a museum in America. It must be seminal. Now, here's something I haven't really understood. I mean, if a gallerist is showing a great artist, why does the gallerist become a snob? They didn't make the art. And then there's the curator snob who goes, I'm on several art panels and juries and my accent changes quarterly. I'm the one with the power to decide which artist gets to make that giant penis sculpture in a tiny museum in a godforsaken desert in South America. Then there's the critic snob, who goes, my criticism of the sculpture is so abstract, I may as well be an artist myself. It is also so convoluted, it can be read only with a dictionary in hand. And I usually forget that my writing is meant for a reader other than myself. Then there's the auctioneer snob, who goes, I am auctioning a dead artist for millions. He didn't sell anything in his lifetime, and that just makes it so much more dramatic. It also makes me richer. See, art people love losers. Of all the species on planet Art, the loser is the most popular because in Planet Art's dictionary, loser is synonymous with artist. And even today, a lot of people seem to think that artists must continue to live like Van Gogh. Anyone want to convince our doctors to accept paintings for fees? So then, there's the socialite snob who goes, I will befriend anything that shows up in white skin. iPhones, iPads, face cream, cheese, sculptures, curators, gallerists, artists. Any artist that shows in a museum is my best friend. So what if the sculpture she made was a giant penis? It was white. And so what if it was in a museum that nobody visits? It was in America. And then there's the collector snob who goes, I'm the one who paid an astronomical sum for a monumental penis and then built a museum around it. Now hold on a second. Just who is the sucker here? Contemporary art is often a dick joke on itself. But let's not forget the monarchy of snobbery, cathedralites. These people exhibit a strange cultish behavior by congregating in Bombay Gym and claim to know everyone and everything. Don't get me wrong, I didn't say they have a chip on their shoulder. It's a building, possibly a museum. So they're making a whole lot of museums these days. You know, they're making a Michael Jackson museum. So it'll have all his things, his white glove, his studded jacket, a piece of his former colored skin. They tried to retrieve his old flat nose, but they couldn't. It'll also have his posters, his CDs, his bed. The museum is going to be free for children. Tracy Emin is suing for copyright infringement. They're also making a Star Trek museum, so it'll have parts of the spaceship, the crew's gadgets, their uniforms, and they've documented all the voyages made by the Starship Enterprise, including the one that was made to Planet Art. And that is when Mr. Spock's career came to an abrupt end, because he decided to stay back and study it. He was fascinated by the fact that everything on Planet Art defies logic. None of these museums are being made in Bombay, though, because there's no space. In a desperate attempt, the real estate agents have started protesting against obesity. They think fat people occupy too much FSI. So they want to raise them to the ground and build museums in their place. The government, as usual, has rejected the proposal because it had the word museum in it. So now they started excavations. Each and every road in Bombay is being dug up. And they're hoping that some of these roads will be dug so deep that eventually somebody will hit upon museum quality relics of the Indus Valley civilization and then they'll exhibit and sell those, since contemporary art isn't doing too well anyways. So, but the Indian market is fine. I mean, Anish Kapoor is showing here, Raza has returned. Unfortunately, Indians are not buying much art. International artists and galleries don't have to worry though. They just have to show up because Indians worship everything white, including white elephants. See, we make gods out of habit, out of every third person, like Shah Rukh Khan and Sachin Tendulkar and Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. We didn't make a god out of Hussain though. We just made God an excuse to treat him badly. So art people are weird. We spend half our lives decoding art and the other half decoding each other, which is crazier than trying to say I love you in Sanskrit. You know, I'm pretty sure that back in the time before Christ, one caveman scribbled on the walls and then said, a few years from now, this will drive the historians nuts. I think Mark Zuckerberg had the same thought when he created Facebook. Isn't it weird that the art world is super connected via Facebook because Facebook is so not elitist? It's actually like a street fight. Nobody has the time for it, but everyone wants to know what's going on. You know, the other day, my nephew asked me, what did you do before Facebook came around? And I said, oh. Just, oh. Well, we kept all the useless information to ourselves. And he thought that was crazy because these days useless information can be monetized on Facebook. I don't understand selfies either. I mean, we've seen your face already. Do we really need to see it everywhere? And if we do, must it be super curated? So this brings us to a very fundamental question. What is art? In this day and age, how can you tell if something is art? There are a few telltale signs. If the thing is weird, occupies a lot of space, and has no apparent practical function, it's art. If you found it sitting in a museum, or some place that called itself a museum, it's definitely art. If somebody's paying a hell of a lot for it, and nobody's asking why, it's art. Not to be confused with what is defined as a bribe. If a whole lot of people are chasing the person who made it, it's art, not to be confused with what is defined as a scam, though they may sometimes look exactly alike. If everyone is chasing the person who made it, it's art. If a whole lot of people are making money except the person who made it, it's art. Sorry, Mr. Gaitonde. If it inspires power games, it's art. The Oxford Dictionary is yet to decide whether the two are synonyms, art and politics, I mean. They used to worry about the word religion, but then Mr. Modi came to power. Now the word has a whole new meaning. So another unusual cultural practice on planet Art is exhibition openings. Now this is the time and place for people to barter market information, meet new people, meet the same old people, and sometimes talk about the art. Conversations on planet Art are about as transparent as the Berlin Wall. They always leave you wondering what's really happening on the other side. Times are tough. Gallerists have had to become miracle workers now. They've turned the wine into colas. They're also serving a lot of bread because there are a lot of starving artists nowadays. So art people often feel the pressure to be cool, you know. So they have the unwritten rules of cool, and there's a perceived hierarchy of cool. So like red shoes are cooler than brown shoes. Shaved heads are cooler than colored hair. Colored hair is cooler than ponytails. Ponytails are cooler than crew cuts. Crew cuts are cooler than no cuts. Digital art is cooler than installation art. Installation art is cooler than sculpture. Sculpture is cooler than painting. Painting is cooler than nothing. So, you know, art people are very savvy. So they bring up the children very differently. They want to make sure that when they grow up, they understand how commissions and taxation works on planet art. So they take them to the beach, they let them play, they let them make their sandcastles, then they take away 50% of the sandcastle. And as the child grows up, the percentage goes down. So the next time it's 40%, then it's 33%, and this goes on and on until the child gets to the age of 90. Then they take whatever they can get. So we live in a time where nothing seems to work. Communism didn't work. Capitalism didn't work. We can't even be sure about feminism. For God's sakes, you know, women are so tired of being offended all the time. We got other things to do, damn it. But it must be said that art people are very politically correct as far as gender roles are concerned. The men have opted to make the babies without a fuss, a whole army of them in fluorescent colors. They're even doing the bartans without complaining. And what a fine example to set for all Indian men. One Indian man got rich and famous doing bartans, and another got rich and famous making babies. And the best part is that they keep repeating it. The women aren't so self-conscious about the bindi either. You know, it's become more like a smiley sticker now, stuck all over the place. So spiritualism does seem to be working for planet art, though. Art people are very spiritual. They've been practicing their rituals for years, like Euro worship and stock index meditation. They have a daily practice of kissing the root chakra, which they do with a lot of discipline and self-awareness. They also practice color therapy. They bring in as many white people as possible because everyone knows that validation from the whites gets us brownies with the browns. They have regular sessions of ego puncture and foot massage, or ego massage and foot in the mouth, whichever way you want to look at it. So, you know, art can really mess with your mind. You know art is messing with your mind if you look into the mirror and keep seeing portraits by Francis Bacon. Or if you go to a solo show of Sousa's female nudes and come out hating your body. Or if you hear people asking Diana if she's an heir to the Campbell Soup Company. You know art is messing with your mind if you think about everything under the sun as an art object. Soup cans, urinals, tiffin boxes, kitchen utensils, garage shutters, bookcases, butterflies, polka dots, pumpkins, and even your own underwear. And who knows, the next big auction might do record-breaking prices on limited editions of Damien Hirst signed briefs. So, by the way, if my last name was Holzer, you guys would be paying a lot to watch me. But it's not. And you're lucky, because Jenny Holzer isn't funny. Thank you, folks. It's been a wonderful evening. You have fun.